The controller space on your PlayStation 5 console is heating up. Yes, we have some high-level competition in the controller space on the PlayStation 5, and we're going to do a head-to-head of the Victrix BFG Pro versus the Mac Daddy Dualsense Edge controller. Hello and welcome back to Gears and Tech. As you know, I love controllers, I love technology, and I'm really excited about a lot of the cool tech that is in this generation of console gaming controllers. So we've talked about a lot of controllers in the past. We've reviewed controllers. I've taken apart controllers on this channel just to see how they tick. But today it is time to put head to head the Victrix BFG Pro versus the Dualsense Edge. Now I'm going to do a quick intro on both controller, and then we're going to talk about kind of feature head to head of both. Starting with the Victrix BFG Pro. I've done an unboxing of this controller. I've done a hands-on review of this controller. If you want a more in-depth review of all of the features and functionality, those are the videos for you. I've also done an unboxing and a hands-on review of the Dualsense Edge, which again, if you want more in-depth reviews and understandings of the controller, those are the videos for you. So on a high level, let's review kind of the features and functionality of this controller here. This is a true aftermarket controller that was built from the ground up. It's got a unique shape. It has unique functionality. It has 4 back buttons. It has adjustable thumbsticks. It has adjustable triggers. It has modular designs that allow you to swap in like that fight pad, so you can use it with your fighting games, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, stuff like that. It has different D-pads. It works wirelessly and wired, and it supports PC, PlayStation 4, and PlayStation 5. Before we get too far into this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel down below. If you've seen some of our content already and have not subscribed, we want you to join our community. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and let's get back to the video. Moving over to the Dualsense Edge, it also has back buttons, but only 2 of them. It has modular stick design in that if you develop stick drift, you can swap the stick module. It has adjustable height thumbsticks. It has adjustable trigger stops. It has a software suite baked into the PlayStation 5 firmware to access save profiles and custom tuning of your triggers and your analog sticks. This controller here, as you see it, retails for about $179 US, whereas this one retails for about $200 US. So there's a $20 gap, which is not a lot. And you might find yourself leaning towards this guy here because it offers so many other features, because you get a fight stick and a controller all in one. But let's deep dive into both of these controllers and compare each feature and see how they actually stack up. So the first thing we're going to talk about is build quality. And I'm going to tell you straight up, the Victrix BFG feels cheap. When you hold it in your hand, it feels cheap. The way the buttons activate feels cheap. There's like a hollow sound. I'll hold it up to my mic. When I'm clicking the back buttons, there's a hollow feeling sound to it. It's very light. The materials are, it's hard to put my finger on it. The materials, they've added like these little plastic grippy type things. It's tough to say. It feels like expensive, cheap Chinese design, if that makes sense. Contrast that to the Dualsense Edge. This controller is heavy. It feels substantial. When you hold it in your hand, it just feels great. And if you saw my other video where I first unboxed this and held it for the first time, I was legit excited. It still feels great in your hands. I love holding it. It feels like a great premium quality controller. So on build quality and design, I'm giving it to the Dualsense Edge. Like it's good. Now we need to talk about the back buttons themselves. So this guy does have 4 programmable back buttons. You can program any of the buttons up here to these back buttons. It has 3 profiles that you can save your back button configurations to, and they're easy to map on the fly. You can do it while you're gaming. You don't have to pull up a special software. It's easy and it's convenient. 4 back buttons. The Dualsense Edge is a little different story. It has only 2 back buttons, which have different styles. So you can see these are, let me throw one on here. So that's the little weirdo style one. And then, so I'll just put one of each on. So this one's like a wing style and this one's like a little bumper style. And both feel equally good in your hands. Now I prefer this style, and that's only because those are the ones that I'm used to. But even when I put these little nub styles on and I hold it in my hand, like it feels like it just makes sense. Like I could easily be convinced to use either or. You could swap them up just like you've seen me here. But the way they activate, they just feel so much better. They feel very premium. Again, very, very premium. They are held in place by magnets, and they feel great. They feel really, really good. Now, trying to decide a winner for the back button space is so tough because this one only has 2 back buttons. This guy has 4. Now, personally, for me, I am used to only using 2 back buttons. Recently, with my B Savior controller, which does have 4 back buttons, it's just sitting out over there, and we're gonna bring it out. We actually reviewed the B Savior versus the Dualsense Edge already, and that video is already out. So if you're sitting here saying, oh, Anton, you turned your back on your B Savior so fast, you said it was so awesome, and now here you are singing the praises of the Dualsense Edge. I know. But I already told you what I think about that versus this, and now we're talking about these 2. So when we're talking about these 2, I have been starting to use a 3rd button. So up over on this side, I've mapped a button there. I'm getting used to using 3 back buttons. 4, I don't know if I'll ever get there, but I think most people are really only mapping 2 back buttons. That's how I feel. And because I feel that way, I do think that the Dualsense Edge actually wins the back button space as well, even though the Victrix has 4. Now you can disagree with me. You can say, I need 4 back buttons. And if you need 4 back buttons and you are looking at this controller or this controller and it all comes down to back buttons and back buttons alone, this is your controller. End of the video now, turn it off. You need the BFG Pro. It's the only one that gives you 4 back buttons out of the 2 that we're reviewing in this video. Now let's talk about trigger stops, okay? This one has trigger stops. It has a 5-step trigger stop. So right now it's on the highest trigger stop. It barely moves at all. I can click this here and then put it to the level that I need the trigger stop, and then that programs the trigger stop. So now I've got that trigger stop. I can go more or I can go less trigger stop based on what I want. The setting of the trigger stops is difficult on here. I find it easiest to go full on or full off. It's very hard to get a halfway point trigger stop. And I'm not even positive that I do get more than just 2 trigger stops. But that doesn't matter. I'm an all or nothing kind of guy. So I'm not too worried about that. But these buttons are extremely sensitive. They have very little spring tension, so they're easy to pull even when you've got the trigger stop disengaged. And what I found was, mixed with the shape of the controller, holding it, my fingers would rest on here, and just resting on that just a little bit, it would activate the trigger. That's a problem for me. But let's look at the Dualsense. Now the Dualsense Edge has a 3-position trigger stops. So there you can see this is full trigger, okay? And then you can go all the way to full trigger stop. Now full trigger stop is not quite as clicky as the Victrix Pro. Again, this has still a little bit more movement, but couple that with the tunable trigger activation points in the software. Again, the PlayStation Dualsense Edge just blows it out of the water, and there's a top secret feature of this that just the Victrix can't even compete with, and that is the Dualsense Edge still has full adaptive trigger functionality. So if I remove the trigger stops and I go to full pull, these actually will allow you to use the adaptive trigger features, whereas The Victrix Pro doesn't. It's just a springy trigger. There's no adaptive feedback. There's no anything on there. So it's the PlayStation, it's the Dualsense Edge. It just is. Now, before you shut the video off and just call me a Sony fanboy ragging on the Victrix, let's go on to something that the Victrix actually excels at. Adjustable thumbsticks. So this one has the tall thumbstick on the over here and the regular height thumbstick over here. That's because I play first person shooters, and I do believe that I get more accuracy with that tall thumbstick. You can see the Victrix has different adjustable height thumbsticks, and the Dualsense Edge also has different adjustable height thumbsticks. What you will notice is this is the tallest adjustable height thumbstick for the Dualsense Edge, and this is the tallest one for the Victrix. Do you notice anything different here? The tallest adjustable height thumbstick is very, very short compared to the industry standard. Now, the Victrix follows the industry standard. Every adjustable height thumbstick that I've ever used on any controller is about this tall. For whatever reason, the Dualsense Edge is just not that tall. Add to that the fact that the Dualsense Edge only has mushroom top, so it's got these rounded top caps if you are adjusting your thumbstick to a taller height, and I don't like that. Like, it's reminiscent of the PlayStation 3, PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, and PlayStation 3 had dome-topped thumbsticks. And that's what I played with forever. Like the last 20 years, that's what I played with. And then Sony came out with these kind of sort of dome concave tops. I've gotten used to them, I like them, and they work good. The Victrix Pro uses that same kind of style of thumbstick. They do include a dome top if that's what you like, but Sony forces you to use the dome tops. I hate that. I hate it. Sony, if you're watching this video, give me the option to buy a taller thumbstick that has the concave top on it, and I will stop complaining. But until then, I'm going to complain about this every chance I get. Now that was a little bit rude, but shouldn't be pointing my finger like that. So Victrix is the clear winner when you're talking about thumbsticks, thumbstick adjustability, and comfort. They are so much better. Now there's another category that the Victrix really will excel at, and the Dualsense Edge just can't compete at all, and that's modularity, modular ability, something like that. And that is this guy over here. This is a fight pad, which can replace this module right here. So you can take this module out, and if you want to see that, I do it in the other video, so I'm not going to do it here. And then we can replace it with this. That allows me to play all of my fighting games with extreme accuracy. These are mouse click type buttons. You can hear clicky, clicky, clicky. So they're high competition grade module. You also have the adjustable D-pad, so you can swap out the different D-pads, whatever it is that you like. You can have a standard D-pad or these weird D-pads or this kind of hybrid weird D-pad. You have that adjustability. Plus, you can actually swap this module around to make this have the same configuration as like your Nintendo Switch and your Xbox. You can see that in a picture right here. Personally, I prefer the PlayStation layout, so I did set this one up in that same configuration. But again, you have full modularity, modularability? I think I'm making up words, but to turn this controller into whatever you want. So in a category that Sony has chose to not compete in at all, obviously the Victrix is the winner there. Modular ability, it's got it down. Now let's talk about connectivity. Now I told you this is a PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, or a PC controller. This guy is really just a PlayStation 5 and sort of a PC controller. It doesn't really work with PS4, even though I can show you how to use it on your PS4 if you want. But today we're just going to tell you that it does not work on PS4. So this guy obviously is the winner because it connects to more things. But it's got this guy. Now this is a little dongle. To use wireless play, you need to plug this dongle into your PC or your PlayStation 4 or your PlayStation 5 if you want to use it as a wireless controller. That's a big problem for me. Whereas the PlayStation controller just plugs in, it syncs up, and then it's a wireless controller. So I'm torn again. Some people maybe don't care about using a dongle. Personally, on my PlayStation 5, I have 3 USB ports. One runs my camera, one runs my headphones, the other one is in the front, and I don't want to have a dongle hanging out the front of my console. So I really don't like that. Plus, I don't know what's wrong with using Bluetooth. I think it comes down to 2.4G technically has lower latency. That means it has a higher response time or a faster response time. So if you're a competition gamer, this dongle will give you faster response time than Bluetooth. But if you're a competition gamer, you already know that you use USB anyway. So as soon as I plug in this with a USB cable, or I plug this in with a USB cable, they both communicate just as fast. So the fact that I can use this one wirelessly, true wireless, without a dongle, or wired if I want to, I say connectivity is to the Dualsense Edge, and that is a very biased opinion, and I am willing to accept you guys telling me in the comments that I'm wrong. Because there is a small advantage to being able to use this natively on PS4, and there's an advantage to being able to use this wirelessly on your PC because the PlayStation 5 controller only works wired to your PC. It will work, but only wired. Unless, again, with a little asterisk, there are dongles you can get that allow you to connect your PS5 controller wirelessly to your PC. And bonus round, so check out what the PlayStation 5 controller does. I can go like this, there's a little tab back here. I can trigger that with my pinky. That releases the faceplate here, and I can lift this little metal tab here, and then this guy pops right out. So modularity, I told you the Victrix Pro is the winner for that, but this is so cool. It's like a replaceable stick module, and it completely eliminates all of your stick drift issues. So even though this controller is a little bit more expensive, for a $20 module, you can buy and replace it into here and make this a brand new controller again without any stick drift. So how cool is that? Customization. Now, I know you're gonna say customization, well, we already talked about that with your modularity word. No, customization for programming. The Dualsense Edge fully integrates with the PlayStation 5 software. So because this is a PlayStation controller made by Sony, they have full access to the software of the system, and that allows them to fully integrate it. So we've got these function buttons right here. All you do is hold that function button down for a few seconds. A menu will pop up and say, which quick setting would you like to activate? And then you can use the face buttons to say the O, the triangle, square, whatever, and then it just automatically loads that configuration. That is your back button mappings, that's your tuning on your analog sticks, and it's your tuning on your trigger activation. So all of it gets mapped to that profile. You can also rename the profile, so you don't have to remember profile 1 is for my Call of Duty, profile 2 is for Ragnarok. You can actually rename it Profile 1 Call of Duty or COD or whatever you want. Or if you have different ones you're testing, you can call it COD 1, COD 2, COD 3, whatever you want. You have full functionality to rename it whatever you want. I believe you cap out at 20 or 30 pre-saved controller settings, which is way more than the 3 that this one offers. Now the Victrix Pro offers on-device programming, so you can on the fly set your programming. They also have an app that you can connect the controller through, which lets you configure it a little bit better. And they have the ability to re-zero the analog stick. So if you do develop stick drift, you can actually do a recentering function, which will eliminate that stick drift for a little bit longer. So you wouldn't need to replace the module because it kind of recalibrates itself. So for functionality though, it should be no surprise. I mean, the Dualsense Edge is such a clean implementation of controller features and functionality. Nobody's gonna beat that. I mean, first party, this is a first party pro controller. How on earth can anyone beat first party? Well, Victrix just is not gonna do it. So I give that one to the Sony. Now we can talk about other things like this. This is the case for the Sony. This is the case for the Victrix. This thing is like, it's hard plastic. It's got a back port here that opens up so you can charge it while it's in the case. And it's really cool. You look at the Victrix case, you're like, cool, it's got a case, it's got a Victrix logo on it. But check this out. This is the B Savior case. Do you notice anything kind of similar between the two? It turns out in China, there's people making just cheap generic controller cases anyway, and all you gotta do, this one says B Savior, this one has the Victrix logo on it. So it's kinda cool, but it's still kinda generic. Whereas, I mean, Sony went that extra mile. This case alone is worth the $20 difference between these two controllers. So when we boil it all down, I mean, if you've been keeping score through this whole thing, you already know I'm putting my money on this guy. Like, the Dualsense Edge is such an amazing controller. It does have some shortcomings, and I covered those in this video, but despite those shortcomings, it is still so much better than the Victrix Pro. It's just so much better. I just can't recommend the Victrix Pro. If you saw my other video after my 1 week review of using the Victrix Pro, it's so frustrating because it was this close to greatness on so many different levels, but it sucks. Like, it just kind of sucks. I'm actually sending this back. I'm filming these videos, I'm boxing this up, and I'm sending this guy back. And this guy is maybe, is he my daily driver? Well, you're gonna wanna check the Dualsense Edge versus the B Savior controller, because I've been using that B Savior for a couple months now. Was the Dualsense Edge good enough to take me away from my love for that B Savior controller, or is the B Savior better? Check out that other video. It's already out now, and we're covering controllers here. This is not a controller channel. I'm actually Gears and Tech. I fix cars too. I know, you're like, holy crap, Anton, slow down. But yeah, no, as you can tell, I'm pretty passionate about controllers. We got more to come. We got more to come. This guy's gonna show up in another video. We're gonna put him head to head against some of the other controllers still. Maybe there's a different controller that it's better than. Maybe. Hey, thanks for watching all the way to the end of this video. We hope you enjoy the content in this video, and we'd love to have you come back. Consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. And for those subscribers who are looking for that extra special thing that you can do to support this channel, consider joining our members group. That's where we're building this community, the Gears and Tech community, where we can all enjoy content together. You'll get special perks, which we'd love for you to check out by clicking the link down below. For those of you who are just happy to watch the video, that's okay too. You can check out some of our other content right over here, where we've got some previous videos that have already been uploaded and enjoyed by many of our viewers already. We do hope to see you again. This has been Gears and Tech. Have a great day.